Episode 42. Every time we get to one of these things and I look at these episode numbers, I'm like, man, how do we keep putting these things together? But you know what's really cool and the fun thing about doing this is when we get people that message us either on the Instagram, whatever it may be, you know, email. But I love the people, and shout out to the guy that emailed us or direct messaged us the other day and said, man, we need another podcast to come out. I was like, man, we do. It's been a little while. Been off for a little bit, gone at Loretta's, but we've got some great guests with us on this one. Unfortunately, we're missing the Sugar Shane. Sugar is working on the Twisted Oak venue in downtown Dade City right now, which is our presenting sponsor of episode 42, the Twisted Oak venue. They are trying everything they can to get that thing up and running by October 1st. So anybody that is looking for a cool live music venue, some retail guitar sales, bar, beer, wine, cool little spot coming to downtown Dade City for anybody that lives here in the Central Florida area. So sorry we're missing you, Shug, but we're going to try and keep it going without you. We've got our repeat guest, part of the Future MX facility, Mr. Kyle Cheeseman. Good to have you, Kyle.
Good to be back.
And then we got our little blonde-haired beauty, Seth Dennis. Seth, good to have you, buddy.
Nice to be here.
And then Mr. Kasha. Tyler Kasha, the man, the myth, the legend, over there controlling the show for us.
Hey, I don't have a camera on me. Good evening.
Well, we did take a breather there from the podcast, had some things going on, like always. I mean, it's hard to do one, you know, every single week because of the schedules that we do have and stuff like that. But it's also hard to do one when you guys are gone for a while.
Yes. Yep.
So we just had the big amateur national, Loretta Lynns. You, Kyle, and obviously Seth, you raced it, so we're going to get into some of that. But Kyle, you've been there. You've been there for years. So
Yep.
I wanted to kind of get into, let's do a little bit of a Loretta Lynns recap to start the show. Kyle, from your standpoint, track, atmosphere, you've been there for years now as a trainer, helping the riders that we all support. Tell me what your overall thought on the 2024 Lorettas. I mean, what'd you think?
Definitely hot.
Yeah,
I think they talked about that a lot on the broadcast.
I did hear that.
One of the hottest year. I mean, probably the hottest year since I've been attending.
Okay.
So that kind of changed the track in different ways too. How it developed and you know, it dried out a lot. Pretty much most of the day they were trying their best to keep water on it, but so it changed the track. But also the riders who aren't used to that, that don't train in that stuff every day. Even the people that do train in that stuff every day, it was just wearing them down. They even had to shorten some motos because of heat. So yeah, that was one of the crazier things. Last year was the rain. This year, really no rain, just pure heat. So.
Prepping for rain almost on the radar every day,
Yep.
but never actually rained.
Yeah, and that definitely changes things. Obviously, you're trying to seal it off more, not rip it so deep, not throw as much water at it, because you're trying to keep it as dry as possible. And then when that rain never comes, it totally throws you for a loop, and you're so behind. I mean, it's a week-long event,
right?
You know, so if you start so far behind on moisture,
track crews just working their tail off, trying to plan for the worst and end up getting the best, and trying to make it all work. It's, you know, Seth, when we were talking about this earlier with Chad, you mentioned that you thought last year's Loretta's was probably a little bit rougher than this year. Do you think it's because of some of that track prep?
Yeah, it was weird this year. I've never really seen it like this. It was a little bit harder, slick. It's always slick, but like it was weird this year. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, you think last year, because we did have some rain last year, probably a little bit softer, got a little bit deeper.
It got deep. The kickers were felt like a whoop section going through the straightaway. It was definitely gnarly.
Yeah, so a little bit different there with you know, like you said, weather, moisture in the track, heat, baking the track. You know, that changes things. Seth, do you feel this was your first year on a big bike? Last year you were on Super Mini at Loretta's. This year you're on a big bike. Do you feel like that changes anything for you as far as the track goes, having the big bike suspension and frame versus a mini bike, smaller wheels, smaller frame, wheelbase?
Yeah, it was definitely challenging this year, especially going into Loretta's. Like, I only raced it like 4 times maybe, and I was just training on it. And like, we didn't know if I was riding a 125 or 250 till like right after the regional. So it was definitely tough just knowing what to prepare for. And then once I got there and I like was trying to figure it out, it was a little weird the first practice. I just wasn't like, felt really tight, and then just loosened up as the week gone through and felt decent.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that a lot of people don't know, and I do want to expand on that real quick. Last year, you raced Loretta's Super Mini. Then you go to the 125. You do, what was it, the Spring Nationals, and did you do Mini-Us on a 125 or Super Mini?
No, Super Mini.
Super Mini, okay. And then you did Spring Nationals on the 125. So you go to the big bike 125. You do the 125 pretty much all of the spring, and then you end up saying, we're going to race the 250 also at regionals and qualifiers, whatever. So then you guys make the decision, you, the team, KTM Orange Brigade, made the decision to go on the 250. So you end up racing 250B Limited and 450B Limited, but you did both classes on a 250. And you had only been on that bike for what, 2 months, 3 months when you decided, hey, we're going to race Loretta's? I mean, is that about the right window, 2 months when you say, hey, we're going to Loretta's on a 250?
Yeah, well, I got the 250 in like February, and then like I was just dabbling in it like March and all that, and then it was like I was riding it more and more. Then I started getting really good on it, and then it was like it got to the point where I was like mainly practicing on the 250, and I was just getting better and better every day. And it was like I really want to go on this bike, and I had to make we had to like duke it out with Daniel, trying to get it, just trying to push, trying to gain weight. That was the main thing, gain weight with it. And it was like, no, riding the 125. And it was like, finally, after regionals, he called me and was like, we're going on the 250. And I'm like, finally. It was such a relief. Then it was like just getting prepared for Loretta's, and I was like...
Well, you think about that time frame, though, from a regional race to Loretta's. I mean, that's kind of a short window. I mean, most of these guys have been riding whatever bike they're racing at Loretta's. It kind of starts at Mini-Us, right? So for you to do Mini-Us on a Super Mini, then do Spring Nationals on a different bike, the 125, and then to go to the qualifiers in both, and then go to Loretta's on the 250. I mean, that's quite a bit of bike changes in a 9-month window, right?
Yeah.
8-month window. So that's impressive. And I think that's one thing that not a lot of people know about your story at Loretta. So then when we talk about the results, right? So we just mentioned you basically rode 3 different chassis and 3 different bikes in a 9-month window. And then you go up there, 250B Limited, 450B Limited, race both classes on the 250, which I heard you correct them on the podium in one of your interviews that you did. They thought you were racing a 450 in the 450 class, but actually you're racing a 250 in the 450 class. But in the 250B Limited, you end up getting second overall with a 3-1-2 finish, and then 450B Limited, a third overall with a 1-4-4 finish. So 2 podium finishes on your first time at the ranch on a big bike, on the 250 that you've only been basically grinding out and riding on since the regionals. That's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it sounds good on paper, but I wasn't too pumped, especially because I was leading one of the last motos to win the championship and went down for like, when it was like 3 laps to go. It was definitely tough, but in the 450, it was like, man, I just needed to get a start. And the last one, I didn't get the start, and it was just like fighting through like the guys on 450s. It's tough trying to get around them.
Yeah, no doubt. But I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, I mean, I know you might not be happy because you had personal goals, but when you look at it from an outsider looking in, you get 2 podium finishes on your first time at the ranch on a big bike that you haven't been on that long. I mean, to me, that kind of goes to show like your program, what you're doing at home, you know, the facility, obviously working with Kyle at the Elite MX. I mean, there's something that's working for you to make those jumps that quickly, Super Mini, 125, 250 in a 9-month window, and then be able to get to that level where you're a podium finisher at your first time on the ranch on a big bike. I mean, I think most people, me at least, not you have higher expectations than I do, but I would have been happy with a top 10 in both motos or both classes overall. And here you go podium both of them in the first time. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, it was definitely huge. And me like getting ready for Loretta's, I'm like, all right, I'm ready. And then I get there, I'm like, I am really nervous. And I'm lining up next to like 17, 18-year-olds. I'm like, holy smokes, this guy's like 6'4" on a 450. Yeah. He's like 200 pounds.
Yeah, so let's remind everybody, how old are you?
15.
Yeah, so racing against guys that are obviously much older, bigger, probably a little bit more used to the bike because they've probably been riding it for a couple years at this point.
Yeah.
You've been riding it for a couple months. So that's pretty impressive. But I think that goes back to, obviously I'm not trying to toot our own horn here by talking about the facility, but I do want to talk about your program. I mean, when you talk about your riding and your training during the week, your nutrition, your exercise, you know, having the gym and being able to do those things there. I mean, do you feel like all that contributed to that quick of a change?
it for sure helped. Just being in the gym, trying to put on as much weight as possible for Loretta's, because that was the main thing to get on the 250 was weight. So I was just like grinding every day with workout and stuff, just trying to eat as much as possible.
Yeah, which can be tough. It can be tough. I mean, when you're burning that many calories out there, I mean, Kyle, what do you think? These guys are burning thousands of calories a day riding a dirt bike, and then you got to try and put them in the gym. They're burning more calories, but at the same time, you got to get them nutrition to eat. That's where our 77 fitness program with Mr. Corey Noonan comes into play. And obviously what you have mapped out for them on a day-to-day basis. I mean, did you see the progress of going obviously from a super mini at Minios to 125 to a 250? And did you see that progression that quickly?
I wouldn't have predicted it, but being in it day to day, I mean, I obviously knew he was ready for that. But yeah, when you look at it from an outside perspective, when I go home or I talk to my family about it or whatever, they're like, wow, that's crazy. Even like you right now. He is moving very quickly, and it's also because of his size too. He's sprouting up like a weed. Yeah. But at the same time, he's lacking in the other areas. He's getting so tall, so he's fitting the bike, but at the same, like he's saying, the weight and the muscle. And then, he's lining up with kids that are, 3 years older than him. So there's a lot of different variables why it's a lot tougher to do what he did. But yeah, I mean, he's ready and he just showed it. I mean,
yeah, that's impressive. I mean, I've been extremely impressed watching the whole thing. I mean, this is probably the first year I haven't gone to Loretta's in a while, just because I've had some other things going on. We've talked about it on some of the previous episodes, but from watching it on my standpoint, I think it's one of the good things that I love about Loretta's, and it's one of the biggest kudos that Chad today, when we were talking about it, Chad talked about the timing of how they have everything down to the minute.
Yeah.
So I can literally set a reminder on my phone and say, okay, I know Seth is getting ready to ride at this time, or I know Wilfredo's getting ready to ride at this time, or Rowdy Keelan, or Nyman, or Kirby. Like, I could say, hey, I can highlight the schedule. I know, set an alert, and I could either watch it on my phone, or if I happen to be in my office, I can watch it on my computer. Boom, like, this is really cool to have that. And that was one of the biggest things, like how well organized the racing schedule and the racing side of that is. That's really cool to see. But the thing I do like with having the Racer TV and be able to log in and see it is when you're out front like you are, the amount of footage and coverage you get. I mean, you get to see the speed, the style, line choice, whatever it may be. And that's fun for me to see, because I know that's stuff that you guys work on every day. Yeah. And I'm sure you're up there on the line talking to him about starts and line choice and things like that. And you have to manage that throughout the entire moto. So what's that like, going through that process?
It's been, we have our own little routine. Like, I usually watch like the Racer TV like hour before to see how the track is, see if there's any like sketchy spots. Then sometimes Kyle will pull it up on his phone, like in staging. It's very nice to have. You can cover the whole track. Yeah. It's very nice. And then like, just trying to remind myself as the moto goes on, like, don't be taking the crappy lines, don't take it every lap, switch the lines, because it's hard to, once you get in a line, it's like, do I go to the next one and take the chance, or do I just hit this little worse one, but it's consistent every lap? So it's like making those decisions on the fly is tough sometimes.
Now, what's it like for you, Kyle, being on the line and having that? Like, are you sitting there saying, hey, look at how this has developed, or, look at how the moto before has changed, this rut, the rut that you were doing? Like, there was one race that I watched, I want to say it might have been even Open Pro Sport, right before the 10 Commandments. Those guys were going all the way outside, missing the ruts, and cutting across them down towards the inside of the 10 Commandments. I'm like, man, that's such a great line choice right there. Is that what you guys are looking at?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, like you said, it's a big advantage for him. But this year, our advantage actually got taken away a little bit, because they put TVs in the staging area that just play the Racer TV feed all day long.
So everybody's seeing it.
So everybody's getting to sit there and watch it. So it does take away a little bit of an advantage there. But as far as like sitting down there watching it with him, I really just kind of let him handle that on his own. I'd let him just watch it and, take that all in. Don't want to, last thing I need is, me to tell him one line's good and he doesn't think it's good. And,
we're sitting, guessing himself.
Yeah, exactly. We're sitting down there with a little disagreement. So I kind of just let him handle that. Just make sure he's in the, right mental space before we get up to the gate. And
so outside of that, being in the right mental space when you get up to the gate, what would be more of your role towards someone like Seth or Nyman or Kirby or, Rowdy Keelan or Wilfredo Guzman? I mean, what would your role be? Is there between motos talking about how the moto went or what to do different in the next moto, or what is your goal to try and make sure that you get through to them?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much always try to meet with them right when they come off, as soon as the moto ends, because I think everything's more fresh that way. They remember a lot more. I remember a lot more.
Yep.
And then just like I said, trying to give them their space, depending on the situation, depending on how bad the motor went or how good it went, stuff changes. But just trying to keep them in a good level, headspace. Always make sure they're hydrating, especially over a week-long event like that.
And when it's that hot.
Yeah, they're in Minios. It's, we train, 2 days, and then we usually take a day off. Then we train 2, and then we have the weekend off. So going to a week-long event like that, it's a lot different as far as managing yourself over 5-6 days in a row. Straight. Going as hard as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So just trying to take care of your body. I'm always trying to pay attention to that stuff. But, like I said, I try to give them their space too. I want them to have fun. Being in the right mindset is more than just, being a hard knocks, focus on the racing. Like, you need to watch every moto. They need to chill and relax too. And, that's all part of, I think, honestly, that can be a big detriment. Some trainers are super rigid, and get on their guys so hard. And even parents can be like that. Sure. Like, you're not doing anything. You're not leaving the camper. You're going to sit here all day.
Oh, yeah.
I think when you're in that mood, you're just sitting there by yourself. I think it affects you on the racetrack too. Being in a good, upbeat mood, happy with, hanging out with people,
keeping
watching racing. Yeah.
Keeping some fun in it.
Yeah. I think that goes away, and that can be a big detriment to these kids too. So,
I mean, during the week when you're not on the track, is Loretta's fun for you, Seth, or is it one of those things where you're like, man, I'm so focused on the next thing?
Most of the time it's fun, but this year I was after I getting that fourth, I'm like, dude, I need to lock in. And then it was just some of the friends just want to run around as much as possible, and sometimes you just gotta be no.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, that's mature for you. I mean, to be able to do that at 15 years old and say, hey, I got to focus on my craft, because truthfully right now, which I know it sounds crazy because you're only 15 years old, but this is your job, right? So this is your career, your job, and you've got people supporting you that want you to take it realistic, but at the same time, you got to have some fun too.
Yeah.
You got to be able to enjoy it and keep that going. So that's good. I mean, not to brush off the Loretta's things, but, kind of moving on from the Loretta's thing, when you go outside of the racing, you have, I don't want to call it chaos, because it's not chaos, it's organized chaos, but there's so many people there and there's so much stuff going on. I know there was a concert one night, there's different events up at the barn every night. Do you ever get caught up in any of those things? I want to go do some of that event?
Sometimes I do. It just depends. I mean, it gets crazy at night, especially because there's no pit bikes, it's all golf carts. You got people wheeling the golf carts up the hill. I mean, it gets crazy. There's people almost head-on collision with golf carts. It gets a little wild.
Yeah, Tyler, how many times have you been to Loretta's?
Once.
When was that?
When you drugged me up there in 09.
Make it sound so exciting. It wasn't that bad. Well, Loretta's is over. Coming up next for you, not this weekend at Budds Creek, but next weekend at Ironman, you get to do, is it the Futures? Do they still call it Futures on Friday, or what's it called? Combine. So you get to do the Combine, which is basically similar to the Supercross Futures.
Yeah.
So you do the Combine, and you'll be racing on Friday, right? Mm-hmm. On the Combine. And then Saturday is the last pro outdoor before SMX stuff. So
yes.
What is your thoughts, goals, expectations? What are you looking for? Are you just trying to go up there and see what this is all about? Because this is your first one, right? You haven't done a Combine before, have you?
No. I wanted to do the Red Bud one so bad, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do it. Red Bud is so fun to me.
Yeah.
Especially after I did that regional. It was very fun.
That's a cool track.
Yeah, it is. And then
Ironman's not bad though.
Yeah. I've been there once, but it was a while ago, so I don't really remember it. But I've been watching some videos. It looks good.
Yeah. So you excited to go up there and just kind of see what this whole thing's about?
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know. I'm a little nervous, especially going with all the factory guys like Cole Davies and that. I don't know where I'm supposed to be, how far I'm off, how far I'm ahead.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy.
Well, again, your expectations of yourself are a little different than mine. I would go up there myself, being my first race, and I would say, hey, I just want to soak this all in, the atmosphere, the environment. I want to see what all this is about. I wouldn't put too much emphasis on where I placed. I mean, obviously, you always give it your best. You leave it all on the track. But at the same time, you do kind of want to see where you stack up. So, I mean, I don't want you to go up there thinking like, man, I got to win, right? I mean, obviously, that's always the goal.
Yeah.
You know, you're never here to lose, but you know, at the same time, you do got to go see. There's going to be a lot of fast guys up there.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty stacked right now. I'm excited. I want to definitely get in like top 5, top 7. I want to be up there like battling with people.
Yeah.
See where I'm at.
That's
I'm
a
excited.
good goal. That's a good goal. Now, Kyle, you're going to Ironman also.
Yes.
So you and I are you flying with Seth?
Yeah.
So you guys are flying up, and then myself, my wife, we are flying up also to come see the little blonde go perform on Friday, and then we do want to see the last outdoor on Saturday, and then we fly back on Sunday. After Ironman, though, we switch into SMX. Aren't you doing a SMX round?
Yes, I'm doing Las Vegas, the 250 round. Daniel just let me know I'm for sure in.
Nice.
I'm excited. But
And that'll be your first futures, right?
yes.
So
Yep.
we're getting this stuff
We're getting
knocked
all
out
of
here
it.
pretty
Yeah,
quick.
it's going quick.
Yeah, so let's go from a super mini at Loretta's, 125 at Spring Nationals, 250 at Loretta's, and then go to the Combine, and then go to Futures,
Yep.
all in less than a year.
I wouldn't say it's the usual path, but it's the path we're on.
Well, we're getting it ready after Vegas SMX. You got a couple random races in there. I mean, I don't know if you're going to do like Baja or Ponca or whatever, but then really the next kind of like big thing would be the next national is going to be Minios, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing Baja. I actually fly from Ironman to Michigan because a bunch of my family stays up there. So we're going to go see them.
Good.
Then I think they're going to come down to Baja,
Race that one, and then after that, it's basically Minios prep.
Las Vegas. Prep.
Oh, Vegas
That'll
is
be in
after
between.
Baja.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like
okay. So
2
it's
or
going to
3
go
weeks.
Ironman, Baja,
Baja.
Vegas.
Yep.
Got it. That'll be fun, though. That's a nice little run there.
Yeah, it's an action-packed like couple months.
Yeah, when most people are like,
Yeah,
oh, we're going to take some
usually
time
this is the
off after
downtime.
Loretta's. We're
Yeah.
going to be quiet a little bit. I was talking to somebody today, and they were like, well, what's kind of going on right now? And I'm like, well, if you look at it from a team perspective, most of our stuff is kind of wrapping up,
Yeah.
right? So Loretta's is kind of like our end of season race. We always try and take some time off, which we're going to get into this in just a second because that's going to be the next segment, talking about the team stuff. But still, most people are taking a little breather right now, and it sounds like you got to go full steam ahead for a while.
Well, I took a little breather. I was in Rhode Island with one of my friends on a little vacation on the beach for a couple days, and I'm like, usually I stay for like a week or 2 longer, but I'm like, I got to fly back. I got to get ready for Ironman, ride the new bike, just get ready.
Yeah. That's going to be sweet, though, man. Good for you. That sounds like a lot of fun. Good little Loretta's for you, even though I know you said you're not pumped on it, but I would take a second and a third overall any day at Loretta's with the fastest kids in the country, so good for them. And, again, good for our other guys. Even fun to see little Rowdy Keelan get under the tent.
Yep.
And, Wilfredo had a good motos. Nyman, Kirby, good for them for all, getting there to the race and stuff like that. But, that kind of leads into what we were just talking about. Kind of the next conversation is, what are we doing as far as a team goes right now? What's going on at the facility? We do get a lot of questions. Obviously, we've been putting some Instagram posts out there, a little bit of teasers of, getting a completely brand new, fresh tracks that, Kyle and Corey with
yep.
402 MX. You guys have been hammering out some work on those tracks. I mean, completely changing the layouts, completely changing the obstacles. Brand new Supercross layout coming to the Supercross track, so we're not riding the same layout from last year, which is very exciting. So anybody that follows us on Instagram or TikTok, you can see we've been putting some teaser videos up there, but those tracks, the outdoor track's close to being done, and the Supercross track's not far behind it. It's close too. So, I mean, that's exciting to see, trying to continue to improve by adding, new layouts, giving these guys something fresh to ride on, something they've never seen before, changing obstacles. And again, it's unbelievable. And I know, Kyle, you talk about this a lot, even on your personal Instagram page, the soil that is out there, the differences in soil between red clay, sand, black clay, and even organic. I mean, there's so much soil, the elevation changes. I know I went out there today and was kind of chatting it up with Seth for a little while, and he said he loves the new layout compared to the previous one.
Yeah.
Not that the previous one was bad, but when you ride the same layout for a while, it kind of gets to be repetitive, doesn't
It's been a year.
Yeah. So now,
crazy.
you get brand new obstacles, brand new layout. I mean, got some big jumps out there now.
Yeah, we added a couple. I know, it's funny when we first started this facility, I would consider myself probably my go-to was like 85 super mini kids. I mean, that was kind of my thing. And now all of a sudden, Seth's grown up and a couple other have grown up, and now it's like, oh man, we kind of need to adjust our track for that a little bit, to have something for a little, for everybody, little big bike stuff, but still keeping it, to where the younger kids have, plenty of stuff to accomplish on their own too. So but the soil, I don't know, I've never seen anything like it, especially not in Florida. Maybe you could find it somewhere else, but we sound like we're tooting our own horn here today, RJ. But
no, it's
I
just being honest.
Really have never seen the ruts we get. I mean, it's just not something you see in Florida.
Well, and that's one of the things that I was talking to one of the guys that was out there today, and we were talking about specifically Minios, which for most amateurs that are not named Seth Dennis, that is the next big race, right? So people are coming off Loretta's, take a little break, whatever, and then they get ready to start going again. Well, what's the next big race in the amateur world for, AMA majors? And that's going to be Minios.
Yep.
And when you start thinking about Minios, you think about clay, you think about hard pack. And that's something that we have, at the facility. So to be able to offer something that's very similar and very close, not too far down the road from Gatorback, to be able to ride and train on something that's similar, that's a huge benefit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
I mean, obviously Florida's, 99% sand. So to have something hard packed is definitely a benefit.
It is. And then even on the team side, like I said before, people that follow us on Instagram, they can see some of the stuff before we get to talk about it on a podcast, but you can only put so many words in a post online.
Yeah.
And, we've put out there right now that we're looking for building our 2024-2025 program. I've mentioned many of times, most of our rider contracts and season is done at Loretta's. That's the finale for us. Mm-hmm. And then the first race of the season is Minios.
Yeah.
So you basically have that window between Loretta's and Minios, and that's your off season essentially to, okay, what brand are we going with? What sponsors are going to renew? What sponsors are we going to gain, lose? We got to either rewrap the truck or do, change logos on the truck. So there's a lot going on in the background right now. I mean, phone call after phone call, emails after emails, just nonstop going on right now. And I would say that's probably where we are at this moment as far as the team goes. We are looking for new sponsors.
Yep.
We've had a lot of great sponsors over the years. I mean, I even listed them out just because I do want to give credit where credit's due, but like Premium Outdoor Products, they've been with us for a while and they've been a huge help. Morgan Stanley Financial, thank you to them for everything they've done for us. Extreme Power Sports has been great, very close to us as our local dealership. AMSOIL's been on board with us, helping us out. Verified Graphics did a great job on our kits this past year. Our good buddy Dan Truman with Git and Athena USA always helping us out, making sure that we have what we need. No Toil's been there forever. 612 Suspensions helped. And then our big ones, Fox and Oakley, again, can't thank them enough. Now, don't know if any of those guys are going to be able to renew for us in the 24-25 season. I hope they do, because I've got great relationships with almost all of them. But right now, anybody that's looking to join or become sponsors, I've talked to quite a few different people, and I've got I would say two pretty big ones that we're dealing with right now. And if either of those come to fruition, we're going to be able to do a full-fledged amateur motocross program.
Yeah.
We're not going to do pro next year. We've done the pro side, and obviously the expense of pro racing is just unbelievable. Amateurs not far behind it, but it is a little bit better.
Yeah.
So trying to nail down any sponsor. So anybody listening to this episode or somebody that wants to get some brand recognition, some local recognition, we can put it on the side of the semi. We can put it on the bikes. We can put it on social media. We can talk about it right here on the podcast. We have a great in-house ability to do YouTube videos, shoot commercials for people. We did it for No Toil. They absolutely loved it. They put it on their own, website on their homepage. So things like that is where we can get creative with sponsors and try and drive them, because at the end of the day, it's return on investment.
Yep.
So anybody that I've talked to in any form of racing, everybody knows how expensive this stuff is. The one thing that I would like to make sure is very clear that any sponsorship income that we get goes 100% to the team. We do not have a single paid staff member on the team. It's 100% volunteer based. Getting the truck to and from the races, I drive it myself. We've got another, one of our best friends that helps drive it when we need to. So the funds that we are able to generate, whether it's actual cash, sponsorship money, that goes straight into the team account. We operate out of that. And then usually when it's gone, there's a lot of it that comes out of pocket. And that's just to try and keep this thing going. Now, we would love to get to a point where we can actually be, self-contained, but we haven't gotten to that goal yet. So my whole point, long story short with that, is anybody that would be interested in coming on board with Future MX and helping, we are looking to do a full-fledged program, with the semi and go racing for the 24, starting at Minios into the 25 season, which basically wraps up at Loretta. So anybody that would be interested, please reach out to us. You can either email, you can find our info right on our website, Instagram, direct message. Any of those things would be perfectly fine. What we posted online, which seems to be gaining a lot of traction with people sharing and commenting and stuff right now, is looking for riders. Mm-hmm. So we did, we've pretty much, at the end of every season, we always look at the existing riders we have, who's going to stay, who's going to go. We're going to keep a few. But then we also look at what our goals are. And right now, our goal would be to try and get some mini bike guys, because we haven't had many mini bike guys lately. Yep. I think the last mini bike guy we really had was Carson on a full deal. And then the rest of them have just been people that we've kind of supported here and there, whether it's, there's all different levels of support, which we'll talk about that. But I think right now the goal would be, trying to get like an elite level, either 50 or 65 kid, 85 kid, or 125 kid, pretty much already set on the bigger bike side, but that's still in limbo right now. But it's funny to me because the different people that I talk to, and Kyle, I don't know if you've talked to people about this, but there's so many different ways that people support riders. Yeah. One of our great friends, Matt Bell at HBI, he's helped a ton of different people, but there's always different levels of how you support people. I was talking to one of our bigger sponsors, or potential big sponsors today, that, we've been going back and forth with. And one of the things that they were talking about was, well, how much do you do for the riders? Because what we've done in the past is, we've given them discount on parts or discount on bikes or discount on gear, whatever it may be. Well, that might be one level. Yeah. But then you might have another level where, you end up buying the bikes for somebody. So it's crazy how all this works. It really kind of depends on the rider, who it is, what the results are. And you almost build a sponsorship package for that rider individually. Yeah, there's no set, like, this is what you get. And I think, Seth, you've probably seen that coming up through your, motocross world, that whether at the beginning it might be a discount program, and then after that it might be free product, and then after that it might be a free bike, and then after that it might be a parts allowance. And I'm sure that's probably changed for you throughout the years, correct?
For the most part, it was like great when I was on 50s. It was like my first ever sponsor was Scott. And then it was like I got signed to Orange Brigade, and it was such a relief. And then it was like I've just been with Orange Brigade ever since.
Yeah, we're talking to the wrong guy.
Well, but like you said, you go to Loretta's and you're not getting any help at all, right? And then you end up winning that title, and then you start getting Scott involved, right? So okay, I win a title, I get one sponsor. Then you go and you continue to do well, and the next year you get another sponsor, and then the next year you win and you do well, and then now you're on Orange Brigade, right? So that evolves as absolutely. Titles and skill and everything progresses. So I'm not knocking anybody, and I don't want somebody to think that we are, but there is a difference if, let's say you're a mid-pack C rider versus a top contending B rider. There is a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something I think that people need to understand. And we put on our Instagram to send us some rider resumes. We've got some time right now before we have to nail down exactly what we're going to do. We pretty much use the remainder of August and September to try and nail down firm details. Everything starts to get really serious in October, and most of our rider contracts start November 1st. Yeah. And then they end right when Loretta ends. Yeah. So that's kind of how it goes. But, Kyle, in your world, or thinking about as far as the team goes, what would you like to see? To be able to go to these races, obviously, when you roll up to an amateur race in a 53-foot semi, it's pretty impressive, with a full awning. Minios is a little different because there's a lot of 53-foot semis, but outside of Minios in Loretta's, there's not as many.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it would be cool to have, some title contending, kids across the board.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of kids in the amateur ranks that are those title contenders that don't get a whole lot of help. I think it happens a lot. I would say more in California, but it's sometimes it can be who you know. I'm not saying that's with everybody, and
100%.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's with everybody. I'm not calling anybody out, but I feel like there's a lot of kids that do get overlooked that deserve the help that don't get it. So trying to pick out those kids, find those kids, it can be tough, but it's obviously when you have a kid that has that underdog mentality that doesn't get the most help, being able to help them out and then, being able to go win championships with them, I feel like that's a way better feeling than, picking the top guys and going to win with them. Like you kind of expect that.
Right.
And if anything, if you don't win, it puts you in a bad mood. I don't think we as a team ever go in with those expectations because I feel like we are kind of more of an underdog team.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's just a lot more joy at our tent.
Well, I think anybody that has been to any of the races with us, like Loretta's or, whether it's a Spring National, Daytona, Loretta's, Minios, whatever, we enjoy the riders and their families.
Yeah.
We embrace their riders and families. We do our own rider team meals. You and I got to put one on. You and your dad cooked for it last year at Minios. And, to be able to do that stuff, like even cook for the promoters, and we bring in a band and, we have awesome food and take all the bikes out from underneath the awning and fill it full of tables and chairs and just invite everybody to come. I mean, it's a much more laid back environment than most because we're not restricted by, sponsors and manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
We get to kind of do our own thing, and we're a pretty laid back team. But one thing that I think could be part of the gratifying side of things and potentially change our team versus somebody else is the fact that we do have the facility now.
Yeah.
At this time last year, it really wasn't up and running yet. We were basically brand new into the facility at this time last year. But with our team and the kids that we support and the riders we support, do you think now with having the Kyle Cheeseman Elite MX training, with having the Corey Noonan 77 fitness side and the Future MX facility with 2 tracks and the ability to have a full gym with the AC and everything, I mean, do you think it would be more rewarding for you if you see a kid that could potentially use some support, maybe a little bit of fine tuning, get him in to the facility and say, hey, we are going to help you. We're going to guide you. We're going to support you with, whether it's bike, gear, product, whatever, training, gym work, nutrition program, and then you see them go succeed. Do you think that would be more rewarding now than before?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you have your hands in every part of the program then, it's kind of, like a self-sustained success, between the team, the facility. So you have the training side of it, the bike side of it, the ride. It's all you. So between all of us, but it's all Future MX as a whole. So I feel like, that's 100% more rewarding. I mean, you look at the guys at Club MX that are doing it right now in the pro ranks, and, I feel like they're the same kind of way. They find those fringe guys, that are just off factory level. And, with their training program and their bikes and whatever, them trying to go win, I feel like it's a lot more.
There was an outdoor this year that Club MX had like 3 of their bikes in the top 3 off the whole shot. And it's like, man, you've got to be pumped.
As a somewhat of a privateer team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's imagine the smile on that guy's face, and you got, the other factory team managers over there that are all, pissed off.
I would be so pumped.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a better feeling when you have that underdog mentality. Now we have every facet of it. We can train the guys, we can, put them on the bikes and all of it. So
I mean, when you could do the gym work, you can do the nutrition, you can do everything in-house. That's pretty cool. I think that would probably be, the difference of, I would just say really any team that doesn't have a facility where it's like, okay, I'm going to help you, but then you got to go do your own thing.
Yeah.
Like you
kind of a weird dynamic. It's more normal, but
it's very common.
You think in everybody's dream world, it would be, we have them in-house, we do everything.
Yeah. It would be, but the reality is most of them don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's really like, hey, we'll help you with this, whatever that level of support may be, but you're going to go do your own thing.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, we can help you with this, but you can also come to us and we can fine tune those details.
It's like you put a rider on your bike and you show up to the race, you're like, what the hell you been doing?
Yeah. Yeah. But when
now we know.
What they've been doing.
Yeah.
You could see them putting in the work and the effort, which goes a long way. I mean, it's like Tyler. You could tell when he's putting in the work. And when he's not, you know?
I don't know if now looks like one of those times.
Huh? Don't wake me up.
Well, I'm excited to look for that. I know that there's a lot of different things. I mean, it's exciting for me to watch the pro side of things with RJ coming back at Budds Creek this weekend, and then he's going to be at Ironman, so we get to see him, you know, one of our local heroes for us. So excited to see him, and, you know, it was fun to see Coop come back last weekend, even though the thumb injury is going to keep him out. Then we got Tomac coming back this weekend. Obviously, you know, Kenny's talking about doing this whole 250 thing at Ironman. That's going to be exciting to watch and see. So the sport still, as a fan, I mean, what's your take on as far as the pro stuff? And I'm going to ask both of you this, Seth and Kyle, but right now, Kyle, as far as the pro goes, the 250 and the 450 class, I mean, what's your overall wrapping up the season take on them?
I would say the amount of talent. You know, we've all been fans for many years, you know, obviously, but I feel like the amount of talent in both classes right now is just absolutely insane, especially the 250 class. Yeah. The guys right now that can win in the 250 class, you know, you know, Hayden's won a lot and Hymas has won, you know, but the guys that can win, it's like 7-8 guys, you know, that can be up there and win in a moto.
Yeah, I mean, when you get a Master Pool, a Kitchen, Shimoda, you know, obviously he just went down with an injury this past weekend.
You know, Cochran was up there, led a whole moto pretty much, you know, one of the motos.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. So you even throw in guys like that. I mean, there's just so many dudes that can, you know, lead races now. And yeah, that would be my takeaway. You know, the depth of talent I feel like is pretty insane right now.
What do you think, Seth?
It's been interesting. The 250 class is like, I feel like the main class right now, since like some of the 450 guys are hurt. It's like, I turn on the TV and watch the 250 class now, which is like when Jet and all of them were like battling, it was like, oh, I want to watch the 450. I want to see what Jet does, how he does it. Now it's like, let's see if Hayden wins again, or if he goes down off the start, or he comes back, or it's like, it's definitely fun to watch the 250 class right now.
I like both. I mean, I do.
Yeah.
Obviously, Hayden's got a huge lead right now. He's probably going to wrap it up this weekend. You know, it's looking pretty promising for him. And even in the 450 class between Sexton, he's kind of run away with it at this point now. And our boy Hunter, which we love, the Lawrences, I mean, very close with them. I mean, I'd love to see him come out here and win these last couple rounds. I mean, of course, it's a bummer to see Jet go down and not make it as interesting of a 450 class like Seth was alluding to. I mean, it's still exciting to watch racing. I mean, you know, there's still a lot of guys out there. AP, fan favorite of mine. You know, I love that guy. I think he's so great for the sport, just making sure he's interacting with the fans and taking care of autographs. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we need. We need more APs in this sport, and I think that's the way it grows. And, you know, one thing, Seth, don't ever let that get away from you is, you know, you got to take care of your fans and stuff like that, because without them, then we don't have anything. So that's exciting to see. I'm looking forward to going to Ironman. Looking forward to seeing a little blonde race in the combine, and then being the final round of outdoors. I mean, that'll be kind of cool if there is any championship still remaining at that point. You know, whether it gets wrapped up this weekend.
Watching Kenny on a 250 is just going to make.
I am so excited.
Yeah, that's going to make the whole round, anyways. So,
Tyler, are you looking forward to seeing the Suzuki machine out there?
Always.
Yeah.
What year did Ricky drop down to the 125 to ride Steel City? Was that 01? No.
Seth has no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Sorry, Seth.
He doesn't know that they even used to race 125s.
He wasn't even born then.
Do you guys remember that?
I do. He already had locked up the 250 championship, right? He dropped down to 125. Was Steel City the last round that year?
Yeah.
I was 3 years old, so I don't recall.
I do remember that.
I want to say it was 01. I don't think it was 02 because it would have been the perfect season. I'm going to guess 01. And Mitch built him that Pro Circuit 125. It was cool.
We'll have to look that up, try and get some stats on that and see if we can get some accuracy to Tyler's.
It kind of reminds me of that without there's no records on the line. I think Ricky was trying to beat Mark Barnett's record.
Oh, okay.
And that was why he did it.
Huh.
Doesn't the producer look those things up?
Well,
the producer's asking us the question.
There ain't no internet out here.
So outside of that, though, you know, looking forward to going to Ironman. We've talked about, you know, the future MX plans for this year. Again, you know, anybody looking to support the team and try and get involved, sponsorship, or we can promote your brand, your product, we'd love to do it. Seth, we talked about Loretta's. We got some big things coming up. Ironman, Baja, Vegas, Minios. Got a nice little slate filled coming up in the next 2 months. Kyle, I know you're doing some stuff at Dade City. I think Randy actually mentioned to me on the phone this morning that he's going to Bud's.
Yep, he is.
So you're running the show at Dade City this weekend.
Yep,
so for
solo.
anybody in Central Florida that's wanting to go racing at Dade City, come on down, check her out. It's a points night, right?
Yep,
Dade
points
City.
race.
Yeah.
Round 15?
Well, now you're looking back at the computer.
Tyler, no. I mean,
It's round 15.
I thought he did the ads. Yeah.
It's round 15.
Yeah. So anybody looking to come out, I know they just had the Florida Series race out there last weekend,
Yep.
which one thing I do want to end the show on is
Yeah, I'm glad you are.
huge condolences to the Diaz family, Mr. Dean Diaz Sr., unfortunately passing this week. Terrible to see and hear that stuff because he's just been such a big influence in the sport of motocross, but specifically in the state of Florida, but in the sport as a whole.
Yeah.
Just a huge-hearted guy, massive heart guy, and always trying to do quite a bit for the kids and obviously his own track. And, you know, my thoughts go out to little Dean and the family and everybody. So that's a tough one. But condolences to them and, you know, Godspeed to him. And
Yeah.
that's tough. But outside of that, any closing comments? Anything you want to wrap up with before we shut her down? Seth, anything? Hey, let's go ahead and do this. One thing you got to do is you got to plug your sponsors. We got to make sure that they know that they're out there. So we got we already mentioned KTM Orange Brigade. You know, big thanks to DB for letting you ride the 250 at Loretta's, and now you got some cool stuff coming up. So outside of Orange Brigade, who else we got?
Big thing, thanks to Fox, Scott, Twisted, Power Band, FMF, Thrill Seekers. Man, you're really putting me to the test right now. Sponsor thing.
Usually mom's here mouthing things.
Yeah,
he's looking at me.
He's got
I'm
a
no
pit
help.
board over here. Like,
Big thanks to Kyle for helping me get ready. 77 Fitness. And everybody else.
Future MX.
Oh,
is
yeah,
good.
Future
You know,
MX, for sure.
You can take us, you know, helping a little bit here and there where we can. No, it's fun to have you around. It's great to have you at the track and be able to support you and watch you go through this change. It's been a very impressive year for you, so I'm proud of you. And I want you to continue to do well. And then Kyle, anything? I mean, huge thanks to 402 for coming out this week.
Yeah,
And
check the socials. I got a video guy coming out tomorrow doing some drone stuff. So
yeah, we got
we'll be putting out some
sneak peeks on the Instagram and the TikToks.
Yeah, check the socials.
Yeah,
The track is it's blowing my mind. It's bigger and better than I thought it was going to be when I had it in my head. So
I was extremely surprised when I pulled in today. I looked and I was like, wow.
it does not even look like the same place.
No, it doesn't. And
Yeah.
that's impressive for the little amount of days, but the high amount of hours and time you guys
Yeah.
have put in has been very impressive to see how fast that transition has happened. So very, very impressed by you. You know, obviously the dozer work and everything that you've done out there. And then huge thanks to Brad and Corey at 402 for bringing the 51 PX out there and pushing dirt for days. Still out there pushing dirt right now as we speak. So
Yep.
I can't thank those guys enough. Anybody that's looking for a track built, 402 MX is your go-to. They have done a phenomenal job for us twice now.
Absolutely.
Came in, you guys built the original layout last
Yep.
year when we got this thing started, and now doing a complete refresh, facelift. It just looks amazing. So very excited to see that transition happen. We're looking forward to seeing people at the races locally. I know one of our other owners, Brian, and myself, Kyle, Tyler, we're all going to go to some races and plan on going to Dade City to scout some local talent and see what we got going on there. And we're going to look at some of these Winter Ams that are coming up, and the Gold Cup series, I guess it would be. Winter Ams is in the winter, so Gold Cup's in the
Yep.
fall.
Yep.
But we're going to look around and watch some of this stuff go, and hopefully have some big news for you guys coming here soon. Once we can finalize some of these deals and plans for the 24-25 season, we'll be able to have a big announcement come out and talk about some exciting changes that are going on and what the plans will be moving forward. But Seth Rowe, greatly appreciate you coming on the episode. Kyle, glad to have you again. This is a regular thing for us now. We got to start doing it more frequently.
Yep.
Tyler, glad to have you again by making sure this thing actually gets going and put together. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for calling.
We appreciate everybody. If anybody's got anything they need from us, questions, concerns, any comments, something you'd like us to talk about, bring up, make sure you reach out to us and let us know. Thank you.